Welcome back, friends. So in the last video, of course, we talked about the features of the array. So you know what that means. In this video, we're going to learn about a few built-in array methods that every single array comes with. And these methods are going to make arrays even more useful for us, and you'll see why. So if we create an array, var dogs and square brackets. So now, as soon as I create this array, it is going to have some built-in methods. So first of all, we're going to learn the most basic and necessary method. Then we'll build from there. Now, there are 6 methods that we're going to cover here. 2 of them are paired together. So we're going to first talk about these push and pop methods, and then shift and unshift, which of course also make a pair. And then we'll get into the index of. And the last method that we're going to cover here in this video is slice. So before we actually dive into methods, I want to show you a couple of really nice websites. The first one is MDN. And you can find all kinds of things about built-in array methods here, because we're only going to cover 6. But like I said, these are the 6 most important. So yeah, that means that there's quite a few that you'll most likely never need to use, though you never know. We may be covering some of those in the future videos. So I just wanted to show you that there is a reference out there for all of them right here. And then, of course, besides this, you can see some of these methods at the w3schools.com site as well. But like I said, we're going to cover I would say the most important ones, at least the 6 most widely used. So what we're going to do is go to our code editor and we'll talk about some arrays again. So first I want to take our previous array from here and paste it here. Okay. So here we have an array which has 4 elements. And then what we saw last time was if I want to add a 5th student, right, I first need to figure out what index to add it at. So I'd count 0, 1, 2, 3. So then I would know that the next index would be 4. So I could write students in square brackets, and 4 equals Bernadette. And this isn't, of course, great because I have to keep counting, or I have to keep track of that number at least somewhere. So if I want to add another student, I now have to figure out how many items are in the array. I mean, right, so currently there are just 5 elements. Okay, so I know I need to say right now that students and 5 equals another name. But to do that, there's a built-in method that makes this a whole lot easier. So this is something that we do a lot, actually, which is called push into an array. So with the push method, we add a new element to the very end of an array. So here, I want to write that push method adds a new item to the very end of an array as a comment, okay? Now let's see how to use it. So I say students.push. And why can't I say something like this? Because every array comes with these methods, and we can reach those methods just by saying array.method. So in this case, students.push. And now put my parentheses, just like we called our functions. We call these methods with these parentheses because these methods, well, they're functions as well. So inside of it, I can say Bernadette. And now let's see the student array. So I say console.log and students. Save this and go to the console. And here I refresh the page, and sure enough, we see our new array. Bernadette is right here at the end of the array. So now our array is defined in this console. So I'll try it out here. Students push, and I'm going to add in Amy right here at the end. And as I said, just like the functions, we need to put parentheses, and that will actually call push, right? And then we pass in the Amy as an argument. And if I hit enter now and look at students, you'll see that Amy has been added to the end. And I didn't even have to specify which index to add it to. Did you notice that? And that's because push always knows where the end of the array is, and it adds whatever we pass into that very end. So push also returns the length of the array after your new element has been added in. So you can see this returns 6, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. And if we want to, we can always use this value because we can store it into a variable. All right, so let's go back to our code editor again. And here I can say var student length equal to this statement. And so now I want to see the result here. So instead of console logging the students, I'll say student length and go to console. And here I'll clear the console and refresh, and we'll see 5 here, which is our array's length after Bernadette has been added to it. If I say students here, we see Bernadette right here at the end of the array. All right, so let's go back to the code. Now I'll show you another usage, but we don't actually use it that often. So I just comment out this line and change this console log to students again. Okay? Cool. So our next method is just the opposite of the push method, which is pop. So pop, yeah, does the opposite. It removes the last element in an array. All right, so let's see how to use it. It doesn't take any arguments. We just write students.pop. And if I say console.log students, save it and go to console. So here, if I refresh the page, you'll see our new array, and we've removed Raj from it. So I want to try it here again. So in console, I'll say students.pop and call it. And when I hit enter, it returns to me the very last item of the array, which is Penny in this case. And if I look at students, it now doesn't have Penny. So we use pop a lot, basically, to remove things from an array and then, well, do something with them. So I'll take you back to the code again. So if I want to use the last item of the array, I can say var last student equals to this statement. And now instead of students, I'll say last student and go to console. So here, first I clean the console and then refresh the page. And yeah, sure enough, here we see the last item of the array, which is Raj. And if we look at the students again here, we see that we've removed the Raj. All right. So push takes one argument, and it will add that to the end of an array and return the length of that array. And pop takes no argument at all, and it returns the last item in the array and removes it. So the next couple of methods that we're going to learn are shift and unshift. And of course, it sounds like a pair because they are, just like push and pop. They kind of work similarly, except that rather than adding and removing the end of an array, they add and remove from the beginning of the array. So in other words, we can use unshift to add to the front of an array. Yeah, I think it's kind of confusing that it's called unshift when you're actually adding something, but that's just how it is. Makes sense to somebody out there. So here, I just want to write that unshift method adds new element to the very beginning of the array. And down here, I write the shift method removes an element from the beginning of the array. Okay, so now as an example, I'll say var cats in brackets. And inside of that, I can say cat1, comma cat2, comma, and cat3. Now, if I wanted to add cat4 to the beginning of the array, let's say, I'll say cats.unshift cat4, and that will add it to the beginning. So now I'll console log cat and go to console here. First, I'll clean the console and refresh the page. And look at that. Here we see cat4 added to the beginning of the array. Now let's try it here in the console. So I'll say cats.unshift and then add cat5. And when I hit enter, as you see, it returns us the length of the array after this element is added. So we see 5. So this is just like that push method that we did earlier, if you remember that correctly. And if I say here cats, we see our new array to which we added cat5. So now let's do the opposite if this is the shift method. So I'll go to my code again, and here I'll say cats.shift and parentheses. At the moment, in our cats array, we have 4 elements, and the first element is cat4 because we added here. And now I remove the first element with this shift method. Now if I write console.logcats and go to console, here when I refresh the page, we see our cat4 is removed from the very beginning of the array. Now shift method also returns a removed item, just like the pop method. Now I go to my code again, and the next method is called index of. And what the index of method does is it'll take an argument like a string or a number, and it tries to find that argument in a given array. Very useful. So if it finds that string or number in the array, then it will return the index where it's found. So let's have a look, see how that works. So I'm going to use our students array again. And at the moment in our students array, we have Sheldon, Leonard, and Penny, right? Now, because we used the pop method here and removed Raj from the array, we don't see Raj. So I say students.indexOf, and now I want to know what Sheldon's index in this array. So I'll write Sheldon. And I need to make sure that it matches exactly. So it's going to go and find the string in the array, which is the first item with index of 0. So to see that, I write console.log and then this whole statement. And save this, go to the console. And here, when I refresh the page, we see 0 here. And sure enough, that is right. Or correct, we'll say. All right, so let's try it here in the console. So I say students.indexOf Leonard and hit enter. And here we see 1, which is index of Leonard, and that's true, right? Correct? So let's try something that's not in our array, see what happens. So in console, I'll say students.indexOf Howard. Oh, look at this. See, we get a -1. So if it doesn't find a given argument, it returns a -1. All right, so let's go back to our code. And here I'll show you the last method that we're going to talk about in this particular video, and it's called the slice method. So we use slice to copy different portions of an array. So I'll try to give you a clear example. I'll say var friends brackets, and inside of it, I'll say Ross, Rachel, Joey, and, wait for it, Chandler. So now I want to make a new array with just Rachel and Joey. Let's see. So to do that, I could use slice. All right. So to further complicate this example, let's say that I want to store this copy inside of a variable. So I say var close friends equal to friends.slice. You follow? Now this slice will take 2 arguments. The first one is the starting index. It's where the cut begins. So at index 1 right here, Rachel, and then the second argument is where the slice should stop, which is Chandler. And by the way, it's not inclusive. So it'll include Rachel and Joey, but not the last index of 3. So it leaves Chandler in this array. So let's console log this, close friends. So say console.log close friends, and actually just above it, I want to log this friends array as well. So I'll say console.log friends. And before I go to the console, I will comment out the other console log so we can see a clean console when we get there. So I'll comment out these. All right, so now I'll save all this and go to the console. And first, I'll clean the console, and I'll refresh the page. And yeah, sure enough, here we see our 2 arrays. The first one is our original array, and the second one is our copy array, which includes Rachel and Joey. And we can also use slice to copy an entire array to do just that. We just don't pass in any starting and end points. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'll say var other friends equal friends.slice, and I won't pass any arguments at this time. So to see that result, I'll say console.log other friends. Save this, go to console. And here, when I refresh the page, we'll see our third array is exactly the same array as the first one. But the important point here is, with the slice method, we don't change the original array. We just create a new array out of it. How's that? Cool. So in this video, we talked about some array methods. I gave you the top 6. So we'll take a quick break right here and continue in the next section.